G'day guys, Tills20 here and welcome back to Marble Mountain. Pretty exciting episode today and a very different episode today. We're going to be showcasing the entries into the Marble Mountain build competition, or I should probably say the Las Cruces build competition, because that's where the build comp was held, that's where the spot was, and man, the builds were absolutely ridiculous. So ridiculous, I'm actually going to showcase all of the builds, all the entries within this video, and you'll see just how hard it was for us to make a decision which one was going to be placed in Las Cruces permanently and who the winner was going to be. And I'm actually going to tell you that person towards the end of the episode. I usually announce it at the very beginning of the episode, but this time I'm going to leave it to the end so you can see all the entries into the comp and even let me know what you think. Because honestly, all these builds were so top notch and you're going to see just how great they were. So I'm going to showcase all of them in this episode, which means I didn't want to build anything where I had to explain too much of what I was doing. So I decided that I was going to fill this area in Las Cruces and just keep it very industrial, sort of low detail. It's not like a huge focal point, nothing massively important. I do build a lot. I definitely fill out a big chunk of space, almost like twice the size of what we've already built in Las Cruces, which is very exciting. All necessary stuff. We really needed a bunch of industry around here, and this area was an area that I didn't really know what to do with. I knew I wanted it to be kind of industrial, but didn't really know what sort. So I've gone for a very generic type of industrial area, big warehouses, big factories, scattered parking lots and all that sort of stuff. But look, let's move on to some more important, interesting builds. These are some of the entries that people submitted into the build competition. I usually showcase these little tiny box in the top left corner, but really these are front and center. These builds were so great, so interesting and so different in their own way. We have football stadiums and casinos. One that was created by For Humid, which was inspired by the Camelot Casino in Las Vegas, and I have to do something similar to that because that's ridiculous. But yeah, hotel resorts, people really using the vanilla assets to just amazing lengths. It's really cool to get inspiration from these, and it's actually really annoying to only be able to choose one entry. It's kind of like, oh, maybe I can break my rules and just choose a couple more entries and just place them in other places in Las Cruces, but I don't think I can justify that. I just think that's a little bit cheaty. I can't just change the rules. But I am definitely going to take a lot of inspiration from these builds. This mall that was created, so awesome, and this monorail that stretches around the casino, I think is something I'm going to definitely do. I was originally tossing up the idea of putting a monorail within Las Cruces, but as sort of like a citywide system, but I kind of like the idea this person's used where it's just for the casino, so maybe it connects up the resort area to the casino, or maybe a couple of other areas. I know there's a couple of casinos that do that in Las Vegas, so yeah, I think I might do something like that. Just quickly what I'm doing on screen, I know that I said this is going to be mostly industrial, but I wanted to show that a lot of the hotels, resorts, casinos are starting to stretch over and expand into other areas of Las Cruces. It's not just this one designated area, it's kind of expanding, and as tourism is becoming a bit more of a big thing in this city, it's sort of stretching out to some of the other areas, and I reckon some of the industry is getting pushed out to some of the less desirable locations within Las Cruces. So that's why we've got a little bit of different types of architecture. So this is a very modern type of building that's yeah, a little bit of a contrast between the industry, which I'll probably do a little bit more of that as we move on in this area. Alright, another entry I want to talk about that was really quite an amazing build is the Black and White Casino by Deacon Pitt. This is such an interesting use of vanilla assets. You can actually see one of the original buildings. Actually, I think the aquarium, there's a bunch of original buildings from just the base vanilla game just changed color, spliced together using some of these rocks. It's pretty just unreal. And this casino has a lot of character. So I'm definitely going to try and do something similar like this, especially with those vanilla monument buildings that otherwise you can't use in very many locations because they're kind of weird looking, but as casinos, they work quite nicely. So definitely something I'm going to have to try and incorporate. Up next, we have a build by Codewalk, and I couldn't tell you what this building's function is. He didn't actually leave a description about it, just submitted it. But this is really cool. It's got this really awesome underneath section for like cargo to come in and out of this place. It might be, kind of looks like an embassy or some sort of government official building. At least that's the vibe that I get. But I really like this below ground garage that he's built in here, which is very, very cool. Really good use of using like terrain to just change the landscape around some of these buildings. Super awesome idea. Not to mention something that I've just never seen done before. It's funny how I've been playing this game since it was released, and I still see things that I've never seen done before, and you just think, like, what else can be done? And you know, speaking of that, JeremyThunder, he found some amazing uses for these European vanilla buildings. He's even shrunk some of these down super small around the pool area of his resort, and he's also got them on like around where the highway is, the interchange, and they just look so fantastic. It's such a great immersion of a European city, and I think that's what is so great about going to these casinos or seeing these casinos. They really immerse you within whatever the theme of their casino is. And then we fade back to me building a car park, which, yeah, it's sort of like everyone else gets to build all this really fun stuff, and then here I am building a car park. But yeah, here I am building a car park because Las Vegas has an absolute ton of car parks. So on that note, how about we go to something a little bit more interesting, and let's fly over to the movie studio done by Usually Working. This is another really great example of using your space so well. I mean, look how much he has crammed into this small plot of land. It's not a big land that I gave these guys to work on. In fact, one of the smallest areas we've done a build competition. And if you would like to watch Usually Working talking a little bit more about this movie studio, he talks about the different ideas that he's put into this area and what they could be used for, go and check out his YouTube channel. I've left a link to that in the description below, and you actually find links to all the other guys who have channels and have submitted entries. And you'll be really surprised at like the amount of talent that's out there within City Skylines. It's quite amazing. Sometimes you can just get stuck watching people like me. Don't just get stuck watching me. Go and branch out, check out some of the other guys. There's some real amazing talent out there. But Usually Working, I mean, this place is just so cool. It is a movie studio inspired by the studios in Hollywood, and he's just crammed in so many great backlots and film areas. You can really just, I mean, your imagination just runs wild in a place like this. So, so cool to see this, and I'm going to be taking a lot of inspiration from this when I do the one in Springfield, which I'm really excited to start working on. Oh man, I just noticed his very tiny football stadium that he's just placed over there. That is ridiculous. Such a great build. Alright, well done, dude. This is a really cool one, and I hope you now, as the audience, are seeing how difficult our decision was and how, you know, challenging it is trying to judge different styles of builds, and even, you know, do I put a casino here? Am I going to put a truck stop? Am I going to put a film studio? I mean, there's so many possibilities. It doesn't just have to be a casino just because we're building in a casino city. It could be anything. And I think that really proves it could be anything. And speaking of which, let me introduce you to the next entry, which is by Sergeant Riggs, and it's called Callahan District. This is a whole district. This is a whole area squished into this tiny space with a shopping center, a resort, commercial, we've got office blocks and residential. It's just, we've got everything. I mean, I think this really shows just how much you can squeeze into a single location. I think it really shows scale and how important scale is within this game. I mean, this could be, you could place all this over like 3 blocks, whereas he's put it into one single one. And I think that just really shows the importance of trying to fit in as much as possible into smaller areas. It might not be great for your frame rate because you've got a lot of detail in areas, but it means that you can build big regions like Marble Mountain and this Australian one we're working on. But I just think that this is a great representation of scale and how I try to do places like this, try and squish lots of concepts into one area so that we're not taking up mass amounts of space, and it just really shows how much is possible within just a small footprint. So we've seen a lot of entries of these big grand places, very modern, very luxurious resorts and hotels. Well, let's have a look at some of the other ends of the spectrum, something you very much find in these casino cities. Las Vegas has many of these sort of places, something that I really would like to do at some stage within the city. And this is the Wynns Casino by Greenbeak, and we're watching it being torn down. It's just one of those places that has just lost a lot of customers over the years. It's now outdated and it's just sitting on prime real estate in this very great location, so close to the highway and the rest of the casinos, the main strip. And it's old and is run down, so they just knock it down, they're going to turn it into something else. And this is just one of those great areas that you can just see so much cool little details. The more you look, the more you just notice those little things, and this was a very close one. I mean, this was up there with some of the finalists. A lot of the judges were very keen on this build, and the story behind it I think is really nice. Like, we all loved that this had this very big backstory behind it, and we kind of felt sad to see this casino go, and wonder what the new modern casino is going to look like that was going to replace it. Another entry that was really different to the others, we have the Hospital Commercial Area and Vinos Suites and Resort by Diddeomos, and this is really cool. I mean, Hospital was something I did not expect people to be building, and even to be sharing a lot with so much other stuff. It's really cool, and there's a lot going on here. I mean, even that hospital, he's spliced together these buildings very, very well, to the point where it even looks like it's like an asset from the workshop, but it's not. It's actually just spliced together buildings, and I think that just really shows that if you just splice together the right buildings, you can really capture the style of an architecture of something completely different. And the winner, who you'll see me place down very shortly, they do that very, very well. And even to the point where I was questioning whether or not they used an asset outside of the asset collection that I had for Marble Mountain. I was like, okay, I don't think you can use that because I don't have that building. Turns out you just splice some buildings together and you do have that building. So I think that's just another great example of how you can just use the right buildings really well. And speaking of which, the next two entries before we look at the winner, they're two casinos and they are out of control. The first one we'll look at is the Lagoon Resort by Sully, and I just love the detail on the rooftop of these buildings. He's got this really lovely green space and these decks that just would be so nice to sit up on and have a cocktail. You can really imagine yourself just relaxing in this resort. And I do think that this is probably some of the finest rock work I've seen in City Skylines. There is just some really cool slides and spas and pools that are just hidden within this area. Something that you might just, if you look very closely, you can see this lazy river ride. Oh my god, so cool. I mean, I don't even know how long that would have taken to put all together. And look, unfortunately for Sully, he went to take some cinematics of his build for me, and when he did, the game crashed and he lost his save. And it meant that he couldn't submit his entry. He didn't have anything to submit. He just had these pictures of it, which was just so sad. So Sully ended up becoming one of the judges for the competition. So thanks for becoming a judge, Sully. I'm sorry about your save, but they will always live within these pictures. They are really just truly awesome. And lucky last entry that we're going to look at is the Jubilee Hotel by Ferg. Now Ferg, we know Ferg, he has built a few things for us in Marble Mountain. He has some serious mad skills. This place is so detailed. The entry, the pool area, the VIP entrance, there is so much going on within this build. I'm just going to let the cinematics really just showcase what's happening. There's this whole commercial district below there and this trash out the back. Now I'm realized I'm just describing everything that you can see. It's just really great. And look, it does hurt the soul knowing that I can't use this, even if I just want to bend the rules a little bit and just go, maybe I'll just place it in just somewhere. But I think it'd be very unfair if I did that. And luckily, Ferg doesn't miss out. I mean, he does have his very own music festival just outside of Las Cruces, so there is still a bit of Ferg within Marble Mountain somewhere. But there is only one winner within this competition, and the winner that we chose, I mean, we chose this build because it's just represented Las Cruces really, really well, particularly like the spots where we want to place this. And the detail on this thing, it's one of those places where you can like just discover little bits of detail when you look a little bit closer. And every time I look at this build, I do discover something new. And you know, we've been looking at these grand resorts, these hotels, these casinos. They're also grand and beautiful. And I think if I was to drive past these things in real life, I would just be like, wow, this is awesome. This looks amazing. Whereas if I was to drive past this build that the winner did, I wouldn't really think too much of it. In fact, you drive past these things all the time when you're on road trips, driving in and out of cities, going through the countryside. They're just these pretty average places, and I think that's what we loved so much about it. He's really captured it. You can really tell what this place is with the assets that we have in Marble Mountain. So anyway, without further ado, the winner of the Marble Mountain, the Las Cruces build competition is Greenbeak. This build is just so damn cool. I mean, we just loved it. The detail on this thing, the vibe that you can really just see from this awful truck stop, this commercial district, this motel, hotel that you have. I think it's sometimes really hard to capture these very like grungy, rundown places, particularly these commercial areas with this parking lot and truck stop that sits behind. These places are really tricky to capture, and I think he's captured it really well. And you'll see that I try and do something similar on the other side, just to like show that this area is pretty run down and could definitely use a little love. I mean, you can imagine this area would be slowly turned into something a little flashier. You know, this is on the chopping block. It's close. It's gonna get there eventually, because the casinos are just around the corner. There's some resorts that are just creeping into this territory, but for the time being, it's just this awful truck stop. Hotel looks terrible too. I mean, it's one of those places where you rock up very late at night and you have nowhere else to stay. You just go, okay, I'm gonna stay there for the night, and then we're leaving very early in the morning. So congrats, dude. Love it. Guys, go and check out his channel. He's got some really great builds. He's currently working on a Nordic City Skylines series, which is really cool. I mean, I haven't really seen anything quite like it. And his build style is, I mean, I think you can see what his build style is like. It's very detailed, and it's very atmospheric. I think he really captures the essence of a place and a feeling within his builds. So definitely go and show him some love and check out his channel. He's got some more cinematics of this area, and I'll leave some more in this video at the very end, which we're getting closer to, and you'll be able to see a little bit more context during the cinematics at the end. But like I said, this area surrounding this detailed build, it's all just to complement other areas within Las Cruces. But I have to admit, I quite like what I do over here with this little residential area, and you know, it kind of gives me a bit more hope when it comes to building some of the areas around Las Cruces within that Las Vegas style. Very much is like planned. I mean, everything's planned, but you know what I'm talking about. These towns, these communities, these neighborhoods that are just everything looks the same. They're all built within the same style, and yeah, it kind of gives me a little bit of hope that I can use a lot of vanilla buildings to capture that vibe. Because I think this captures it pretty well. It's a bit weird in areas, I'm not gonna lie. It is a bit weird in some areas, but it's I think it's there, like the essence of it is there. But it looks great next to that truck stop, because I think it's a really nice contrast between the two areas, which is something that I want to capture a lot of within Las Cruces. But guys, we are getting closer to the end of the episode, and I do have an announcement about Marble Mountain. Sorry to leave it to the very end of the episode. Hopefully you've all stayed around. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you've stayed around. Congrats. Here's an update for you. I've got a couple of busy weeks ahead of me, and I won't be able to build anything over the next couple of weeks. Luckily, I am sitting on some footage that all it really needs is some commentary, and that's for my new Australian series and for Springfield. So there won't be any Marble Mountain for a few weeks, maybe a month. I know that's a bit hard to hear now that we've got these amazing builds within Marble Mountain, but it's kind of like I'm stuck, guys. I've got a lot of stuff happening over the next couple of weeks, and I don't really have time to do the commentary. So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I would love to do more in Marble Mountain, but time is not something that I'm going to have over the next couple of weeks. But in saying that, I've got some really cool builds in Springfield that I want to show, and even in the new Australian series, we're like an episode away from finishing that map, which I can't wait to show you. But before I head off, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who entered again. So much fun doing these competitions. I love seeing your creativity, chatting with you guys, seeing who gets involved. It's just so much fun. Again, I wish I could have you all building Marble Mountain all the time. Just defeats the purpose. I need to build something. And it's just so much fun seeing what you guys come up with. So thank you all so much. You're all legends. Shout outs to the wonderful people supporting the channel via Patreon: Kevin Thompson, Matthias Winkelhausen, Bress Brendan, Vivid Swing, Robert Murick, Adam Evans, Matthew Lewis, Ronan Kelly, and Stephen Bordessa. Reading those names, you guys have been supporting the channel for ages. Thank you guys so much. You're legends. I really do appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya!